Hello everyone, welcome into the video. I'll be doing a pick a pile reading. In this pick a pile reading, I'll be doing the topic of what your ex disliked about you the most. It is the day before Valentine's Day. It is February the 13th. So why not talk about a sensitive subject before the day of love? For pile number 1, we have the Guardian of the Night Tarot with the Musk Incense. And then we have pile number 2, which is the AstroMatrix deck with the solar plexus incense flavored lemongrass. And then we have the Unicorn Tarot deck as pile number 3 with the third eye chakra incense. It is flavored bergamot and jasmine. So just a disclaimer, I also want to let everyone know with any of these readings that you hear on these piles that you should take what resonates and leave the rest, because not everything from each reading is going to resonate fully with everybody. So just take what resonates and leave the rest. So go ahead and pick your pile at this time and we'll get into the video. Alright, pile number 1. You have chosen the Guardian of the Night Tarot and the Musk Incense. I've done shuffled your cards. I've done lit the incense, and we are ready to go. Your cards have come out. Spirit didn't really offer the input of shuffling before I decided to pick the cards, so it was almost instantaneous with going into this pile. So here's the cards that we got. We got the Ace of Cups. We got the Hierophant. We've got the Wheel of Fortune. And then we also have the Queen of Cups. So there's a few things here that is calling out to me, and my interpretation might be a little bit different than what the cards are suggesting in this reading, which is totally a-okay. You kind of just want to go off your instincts and what Spirit is trying to tell you whenever you're reading. Try to be a little bit more flexible on your interpretation here. So what it seems like to me that is calling out is that your partner, your ex-partner, didn't really enjoy the fact that you like to make connections with people. Like they felt like you were overexerting your energy into trying to communicate with new people, new friendships, new connections, and you were just a little bit too much out there. Putting yourself out there was a problem for them. They didn't feel like they were kind of exclusive. They didn't have like a really strong connection with you because you were always bouncing around to different new connections. And that was a very problematic thing for them. They didn't feel like they had that sense of security with you. It seemed like there was just not a firm foundation in this relationship. It seemed like their emotions were tampered with a lot. They didn't really know how like you would react to things. They didn't know how consistent you were going to be with your interactions. They didn't know when they were going to see you next. They didn't know if the plans were going to follow through with, like a date or an event that y'all were supposed to have together. It seemed like all these emotions were just kind of running wild in their mind because there was just an imbalance overall with how your connection was with one another. On top of that, it did seem to them like you were a bit bossy, like it was your way or the highway, and that they didn't really get to enjoy just an overall connection with you. They didn't have exclusive time. They didn't have personal time with you. It was always in a rush. There was always instability with the connection that y'all had. And then also on top of that, you were kind of bossy. You were kind of designating things that would happen, whether it was the date or whether it was the time to interact. They were crossing your boundaries. It seems like you were just a little bit too much on the assertive side and the direct side of things. And whenever they slipped up, it seemed like you were the first one to tell them what was wrong in the scenario that they were doing. To them, nothing else really mattered. From their perspective, it seemed like the only thing that you cared about was correcting what was wrong about them, trying to correct their bad habits or their weaknesses or anything to do with things that you didn't see validating or truthful or a good thing from your perspective. And it does seem like with the Wheel of Fortune card, there was a lot of give and take. You learned something from them and they learned something from you. And I think they learned honestly how to stand up for themselves in this situation. They were able to kind of escape with the knowledge of like, okay, this is like where I need to set my boundaries. This is where I need to figure out exactly what I want. And this relationship that y'all had together wasn't exactly the right fit for them. And it also showed a lot of your weaknesses that you could work on for yourself as well. In all honesty, the way it feels is like they were in a relationship with a stranger because they never really got to know you personally, like on a deep level, on an emotional level. They never got to see that side of you. It was always a hurry rush whenever y'all were together. There was no solid you time as a couple, and there was just a lot of imbalance. It was a one-sided exchange. It seems like you were the one in control most of the time, and they never really had a good say-so. It's almost like they were too scared to speak up until like the very end of the relationship, which isn't healthy. In all honesty, it seems like you were trying so hard to prove their weaknesses to them, but it almost shows in this reading that the relationship showed your weaknesses overall as a person connecting with other people in a relationship format. Even though this is kind of getting a little murky and dirty, hence the Musk incense, it does show here that you do have the ability to be a good partner, but there's a lot of things that you've got to work on internally in terms of connection with other people that matter a lot as well. You've got to be able to have an equal exchange with a partner and not this one-sided affair where you're controlling the relationship, you're the one that's having the say-so in the things that you do and the way that the other person is supposed to feel, and that they're supposed to be all right with the things that you're doing, but they can't do exactly what you're doing either, or else you're going to be upset about it. So there's some things there that you can, learn and tweak and come to a better conclusion overall onto fixing yourself that would be good for your next partner. Because it seems like they learned their lesson through you, but there might be a lingering lesson for you that you haven't yet learned. And maybe this reading overall will help you understand that concept. So with that being said, the interpretation that I'm seeing is that you need to quit projecting out onto a partner and doing the things that you want to happen, and kind of reflect back more on yourself on how you can get there together as a partnership, as a relationship, and do it as a team. Teamwork makes the dream work. Don't try to force somebody else to do the things that you want to do. Try to come together and have an equal partnership to where you can do the things that you still want to do, but also doing the things that other people want to do as well. Finding the time for your partner is going to be a big key, because it seemed like there was a lot of time lost in this last relationship. Like I said, there was a lot of instability at the beginning of the reading that I was picking up on, but also being able to find the time for a partner is really key to making a healthy relationship work. There was just a lot of time lost in this last relationship, which is something that they also saw and they hated the most. They hated that they never got to spend enough time with you, even though things were kind of choppy and kind of bad on the directive side of you to them, but also just not being able to be with you enough was also a really, really weak spot in the relationship. Because I feel like if, they were able to spend enough time with you, maybe they could talk to you about these things. Maybe they could show you the signs that you were missing in the first place that could correct the relationship, but there just was never enough time directed to the relationship for it to work. Along with the directiveness of your relationship, like having that authoritative control in your power, they also didn't like that you weren't submissive enough, that you weren't vulnerable. You didn't show, like I said before, the true emotions that they wish they would have seen from you, but also being submissive to where you would be able to connect with them and allow them to kind of somewhat take control of the relationship in some sort of way, in some sort of format, whether that was being spontaneous with like dates and other activities, or whether that was being able to say pick a movie that you wanted to watch, or there's different many examples that could show of like how you weren't submissive enough for them to be able to take some authoritative control. Like I said in the beginning of the reading, there just wasn't a balance. There wasn't a give and take in this relationship. And that is something else that they really, really disliked about the relationship overall that y'all had. So I think that is all that is calling out to me for this reading. I hope that I didn't get onto you too badly, pile number one, and that you kind of understand where I'm coming from and that it resonated with you. I also want you to kind of look at the beauty in this reading and also in the relationship that you had, because it's going to send both of y'all into a direction where you're going to find your soulmate. I really feel that way with the Wheel of Fortune card being out here. I feel like you're going to be able to bounce back off of this relationship and kind of find the person that you're exactly supposed to find. This is for both of y'all. The right thing for y'all to do is split apart and be apart, and y'all are being sent into the right directions, opposite directions, but in the right directions to find your soulmates. So there is beauty in this read. There is beauty in the relationship, and there's also beauty in the breakup that you had. So look at the beautiful side of it all and don't look and dwell on the negative side. So with that being said, thank you so much, pile number one, for tuning into this video and listening to the read. I hope you resonated with it. If you want to stay tuned to the other piles, feel free to do so. Pile number two is coming up next. And then also make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to check out my Twitch, I do free readings on my Twitch channel. And then I also have a Discord in the description below that you can find my private readings that I do on the side if you are wanting a personal private reading. Thank you so much for watching pile number one. Hello, pile number two. Welcome into your part of the video. Before we jump into the reading, I wanted to showcase the incense that was picked for this reading. It's the solar plexus chakra lemongrass incense. And if you can see, there is some like chipped off places, some scarred places. So with that being said, I would like to interpret that as, your ex feeling as though they have been scarred and beat up, and I feel like abused might be a stretch, but in their eyes, they may feel abused, so take it as you will, and we'll get into the reading after I light the incense. All right, pile number two, your cards have been shuffled 5 times. You chose the AstroMatrix deck. Your incense has been lit, and we have the cards. 5 cards came out for this reading, so you got a lucky extra card. First card being the 9 of Cups. Second card being the 4 of Pentacles. 10 of Swords. The Death card. And then the 7 of Cups. So now we are going to dig in deep into these cards. As I told you about the incense being kind of scarred and beat up and just not looking its best condition possible, it seems as though that's kind of the track record for this past relationship that you had with your ex. Your ex really disliked about you that they got invested so quickly. They got really, really deep into the emotional side, and I feel like you kind of portrayed that as well. You probably felt that at first, but you just couldn't seem to be, kept down, tied down, and really, really dedicated to the relationship, because there was a lot of external factors for you that maybe your partner is not really understanding that it was this way for you, that, with your past and with also different things for your future coming up involved into this relationship. It kind of gave you this scattered brained type of mentality with the relationship. You didn't know exactly what you wanted. You didn't know exactly how to feel. It almost seems as though that you had that same mentality that your ex has now, which is kind of more like scarred and beat up and not necessarily abused. I think abused might be a little bit too strong of a word for this reading. You could probably feel like you were, just because of like the misconception of the other partner's feelings and thoughts and everything like that. But it does seem like there's a lot of different variables for you on why you felt the way that you did, and then you kind of made your partner, your ex-partner, feel the way that they do now. They really fell in deep with this relationship. They really fell in love with you pretty hard. And I know that you had similar feelings at the beginning of this relationship, but like I said, a lot of these external factors came up. It almost seemed like you were a shell of your real true self, and they never really got to experience what they got to experience at the beginning of the relationship throughout it all. It almost seemed like there was lies and some hitting agendas that they saw from their point of view that they didn't really like, that they picked up on about halfway through the relationship. And they're like, okay, so, you know, there might be some secrets, there might be some lies. They didn't know what the truth was. They saw you getting distracted pretty easily. They didn't really understand why you were so captivated by all these other possibilities, whether it was with, you know, different connections. They didn't really understand why you were so attracted to other people so much whenever you were dedicated into a relationship with them. They also didn't understand why you were so attracted to so many different ideas surrounding your lifestyle, whether that was either moving away or, you know, finding new jobs all the time, or, you know, experimenting with different hobbies, or experimenting with different lifestyles, such as like going out and partying or drinking or going to bars, bar hopping, whatever the case may be. And they just didn't understand why you were going through such a weird process, because you weren't like that at the beginning. You kind of showed yourself what your true self could possibly be at the beginning. Is almost like showing your hand before you start playing with the hand in poker. You know, like you've already showed your cards to everybody else, and then they see that you're, you know, bluffing, and they know what you are fully capable of because you showed your cards. So they're not going to fall for your bluff. But for some reason, you know, you showed your hand in this relationship of how you truly could be. But then whenever you started being something else, they were just so confused by it. And they really just did not like how you like turned into somebody that they didn't understand that you could possibly be. And like I said before, it's all these external factors. You had a reason why you became the way you became, but for them, they didn't understand it. And it kind of put them in a position where it hurt them the most. But in reality, it seemed like it hurt you a lot too. The end of this relationship was pretty brutal for not only them, but for both of you. Both of you had like really deep feelings for one another, but it just didn't seem like it was going to work out. It didn't seem like y'all could come eye to eye on an agreement of like how you should be, how you should feel. And you didn't help the situation either. You didn't try to stay. You didn't try to fix things. You didn't try to help. You just wanted to move on. You wanted to find something different. You wanted to see what other possibilities there were out there, because you were so attracted to different ideas, different possibilities, because you were trying to compensate for what you thought you should have. So for them, they didn't like how they dove in so deep into this relationship and invested in so much, and they never got anything that they felt like they truly deserved in return. They didn't feel like they deserved to be kind of like used, led on, and, you know, messed with emotionally. They didn't like how you could vary differently from day to day based on what the day included. They didn't like you could be one person one day and then another person the next. They felt like you had a weak mindset and that you weren't able to kind of control yourself. In some ways, they probably thought you had an addictive personality, which is probably true. You probably do have an addictive personality trait within you, but they saw that pretty clearly, and they understood that there was no way they could change that for you, and that would have to be something that you would have to change. They tried really hard, and they invested a lot into this relationship that they know they could not get back in return. It almost seems like the relationship that y'all had together was kind of pulled out of their grip. They couldn't hold on to it any longer. It kind of just dissolved away out of their hands. It does seem like they really do regret, investing so much to get hurt so badly from this relationship. But it almost seems like they would take you back as well if there was a given opportunity. Probably not now because it's so far gone, but whenever y'all did break up, they probably would have taken you back pretty instantaneously. If your ex was able to say one thing to you, that would be to not do this to somebody else. They do not want someone else going through the same process that they went through during this relationship. So if you were to take your ex-partner's advice, that is to continue to work on yourself. That is continue to make sure that the next person that you get with is someone that you can dedicate a lot of your true self to and create some happiness within your life. Make sure you know what you want and make sure you're able to invest into what you want. There's a lot of weaknesses within you that they had to fight with, that they had to cope with, that they didn't deserve to have to put up with. And I feel like you are able to see those things now, whether it's from this reading or maybe you reflect backwards on it, that you could possibly change for yourself and heal from and move on and make yourself a better version of you. All right, pile number 2. That was pretty deep and that was pretty dark, I would say. So hopefully this resonated with you. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Not everything's going to fit for your story. But like I said, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the reading. And if you want to look into the other piles, pile number 1 or pile number 3, feel free to do so. And make sure you like and subscribe. I do have a Twitch page that you can come by and get free readings from. And then also I have a Discord that you can come to and get a private personal reading if you would like. Those links are down in the description below. Thank you so much. Pile number 2. Alrighty, pile number 3. It is finally your turn. We have your incense already lit. We have the deck shuffled 3 times. And we already have your cards picked out. The key theme that it seems to be coming to mind for this selective reading is that there was a lot of ignorance mindset involved with this relationship. It almost seems like you're a young soul and that this may have been one of your first relationships. So let's go ahead and throw out the cards that we have selected. We have the 7 of Rods, which in this case, this is the unicorn deck. So it has a little bit of a different interpretation to it. So rods are wands in this deck. So we have the 7 of Rods or the 7 of Wands, whichever you want to look at it. Then we have the 9 of Rods. We have the 8 of Pentacles. And then we have the Emperor in reverse. So the 8 of Pentacles and the Emperor are both in reverse fashion. So like I said at the beginning of the reading, it does seem like there is some ignorance towards relationships, or like a lack of knowledge about how a relationship works on your part, which this is the reason why your ex disliked the relationship that you had. There's a few things that are going to be brought up in this reading that kind of explain what I'm saying. So let's just jump into it. So your ex really disliked the fact that you were not assertive. You were not strong enough to carry the weight of what you needed to in the relationship. You were not capable of leading the dance, so to speak. It does seem like your inexperience of relationships showed out in that aspect, that you were not able to be direct. You were not able to lead the relationship like you should. And it also seems like you were not capable of learning these concepts. You were not able to pick up the signs that you were supposed to pick up to kind of help the relationship grow and to also help yourself grow on working well together in a relationship format. It does seem like you were pretty stuck. It seemed like you were not growing. It seems like you were not expanding as a person. It seems to me that the person really, really disliked that you were not able to get over the hurdles that were thrown at you in this relationship. And it almost seems like you weren't really willing to put the attention to that aspect. You weren't really willing to put in the time that it took for you to get over these obstacles, get over these hurdles and these problems that you were facing in this relationship. But yet you were able to go back to friends or family or coworkers, whoever it may be, and kind of boast about your relationship, kind of give away like some of your dirty secrets of the relationship, because you were lacking confidence this whole time. But whenever you got to do something, the way that you were able to gain your confidence was going around and boasting or gossiping about the things in your relationship, which isn't healthy. And your partner knew that you were doing this. They didn't understand exactly why you were boasting about, the small victories that you had whenever you were still failing at a lot of other different things. It didn't really sit well with them that, with your inexperience, that you were going out and cheering yourself on when they were having a hard time with the relationship the whole time and they weren't ultimately satisfied. They were still attracted to you. They still loved you. They still wanted you to be a part of their life and, to have a relationship with you. But there was a lot of weaknesses within you that they saw that just didn't sit well with them. They had been with other people that they disliked a whole lot more, that gave them a better quality relationship than you did. You weren't able to express yourself enough. You weren't able to showcase the love that you were supposed to. And you were kind of handed everything. You were kind of directed to do the things that you were supposed to do on your part of the relationship. And that was getting very, very old very, very quickly for your partner. They didn't want to have to tell you everything to do. They didn't want to have to tell you, oh, you got to be at this location at this time for our date. You were supposed to know that last week. You were supposed to be reminded of that to yourself. You weren't supposed to have to be told that. You weren't supposed to have to be told to come to the family dinner on Sunday, even though you had been there last week and knew it was a routine thing. They were just getting really, really tired of having to tell you what to do or how to do things, and you weren't remembering the things that they liked and enjoyed. You just wasn't growing as a person. You weren't retaining the information that you were supposed to retain. You weren't becoming this assertive, dominant partner in the relationship that your partner was hoping that you would become. But yet you were going around the corner and telling your friends, oh yeah, like I did such a great job at this and my partner really loves this, and you were boasting and enjoying your sense of self and being proud of yourself for doing little to nothing just so you could feel better about yourself. The relationship really, really grew old pretty quickly. They didn't enjoy it overall. They didn't enjoy the aspect of the relationship. They kind of felt like they were in a relationship with a child. You have a childlike personality because you do have a youthful soul. You do have a really innocent, inexperienced self in a relationship matter. There is a lot of life that you need to experience, and there is a lot of growing up to do and enjoying things in your life before you are ready for another relationship, it seems. Unless you've made this progress from your last relationship, it seems like you will not be ready for a relationship in a while, because you do need to work on, your connection with other people. Maturity is a big aspect in a relationship, and you should not be getting into a relationship just for the title of saying that you are in a relationship with someone. There's a lot of confessing emotions. There's a lot of partnership work that you have to do in a relationship. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot that comes with a relationship that you didn't seem prepared for. You didn't seem to showcase in your last relationship, that hopefully you'll be able to learn and experience before, or learn and get to experience before you jump into another relationship. Changing your mindset will help a lot. Being able to grow and being able to learn from your own problems. It's not that you're a failure, it's that you're able to grow and become more successful based off the darkness part of yourself. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense and resonates with you well, pile number 3. It does seem like a lot of these piles were more on the deeper scale and digging into parts that you probably didn't even recognize. So just take what resonates and leave the rest. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you want to come by my Twitch channel to get a free personal reading, feel free to do so. And then also I have a Discord channel that you can drop into and get a personal private reading. The links are both down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll be catching you hopefully on Valentine's Day with another video talking about love. So I hope to see you there.